Koen Rijmakers, Value Solution Manager for Amgen, meaning we look for solutions of which patients can benefit in specific therapeutic areas that we work in, but not necessarily linked to our products. This is also how we collaborate with moveUP in the education and rehabilitation of hematology patients after stem cell transplant. So we started in 2019 when, during an advisory board with different specialists in the field of multiple myeloma, we saw that there was a gap in the rehabilitation of patients after stem cell transplant. So during stem cell transplant, patients are in isolation for a long time, and afterwards they are somehow considered cured at that moment, but still need a physical revalidation. Nowadays, they have that possibility in the hospital, or in rehabilitation centers linked to the hospital. But after this long isolation, a lot of patients don't really feel like coming to the hospital multiple times a week. So ideally they would do the rehabilitation at their home, or a local physiotherapist. But then they don't have the knowledge of multiple myeloma because it's relatively rare. So we were looking for an in-between solution, and talking to the physiotherapist, Professor Adriaanse in UZ Brussel, we came up with the idea of looking into an application that could follow the patients from a distance. We knew of the existence of moveUP, and this brought us together in a collaboration, setting up a rehabilitation program for patients. We started a pilot in the UZ Brussel, but of course the idea is not to make an application that is specific for UZ Brussel, so we also organized advisory boards with different hospitals, different specialists, both in Flanders and Wallonia, to get their input on the both the information part and the rehabilitation part that we developed, and took their input into account in the final solution, which we launched in December 2020. The key to success is that not only the patients will of course benefit from the solution, but it's also driven and supported by the entire team that is supporting these patients in the rehabilitation trajectory in the hospital. So the idea was initially brought to us by Professor Adriaanse, but then it was thoroughly discussed also with Professor Schots, the hematologist of UZ Brussels, and stem cell transplant coordinators were involved, and onco nurses. This of course is already a relatively time-consuming process, getting all these stakeholders together. But at that point we decided also we want to make this solution, but not specific for UZ Brussels. Ideally we want to be able to scale it up for, let's say, the entire of Belgium. So we organized advisory boards, again with hematologists, physiotherapists, onco nurses from different hospitals in Flanders and Wallonia. Which again, of course, took us some time to organize, but was very useful. We got a lot of useful feedback from those advisory boards that we were able to implement in the final solution with moveUP. And then after thorough validation, driven by mainly the master thesis students of the UZ Brussels, we were able to launch the final project end of December 2020. The timing it takes is also important when we look at the partnership that we have, because in a partnership, of course, Amgen invests time and money in the project, but we also expect the other partners to invest as well. And so the UZ Brussels definitely invested also with a lot of manpower and time into that. Now looking at the first results, we see that the patients find it relatively easy to implement it in their daily life, so they find it a useful tool, and the ones using it for a longer time also seem to have a beneficial effect on their rehabilitation as well. And then also from the part of the physiotherapists, it's helping them in more close follow-up of the patients throughout their rehabilitation project. So today the pilot is ongoing in the UZ Brussels, and a potential next step would of course be to see if we can scale it up, either within Belgium or even internationally. But since we are here in the field of multiple myeloma, but in a non-competitive environment, ideally we would also be looking at other companies to join moveUP and us in this project going further. So from the start, when we were discussing potential solutions, for us it was clear that we could not develop this within our company alone. So we needed a collaboration with a medtech company, moveUP in this case. A collaboration which is going on now for I think over 3 years, with a very intense trajectory. It was also the first time that we had this kind of partnership, so already in the contracting part there were a lot of specificities that we needed to look into. But then we ended up with a very fruitful collaboration where moveUP had the technical expertise in the development of the application and the potential steps in this rehabilitation project, also before stem cell transplant already in education of the patients. And we could bring our expertise in the field of hematology and bring all the necessary specialists together. An intense trajectory which is still ongoing. Since the pilot is ongoing, there are still bi-weekly meetings which are led by moveUP, where the status of the current ongoing patients is being looked at by their specialists and by the specialist of UZ Brussels, and where we look to see if we need to make some modifications in the current application. So to conclude, we are really happy with the collaboration and still convinced that this is the perfect way to collaborate for these kind of projects where you need both the technical expertise and then also the expertise in specific therapeutic areas.